Welcome to Corinne's Picks, a show about remarkable works of art and the careers of remarkable artists.
I'ma show you how to party. Work. Work.
I'm Corinne Basabe. Today we have a remarkable street photographer, Joe Moscato. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am so excited to present your work. I've known you for years. You're known around Soho as the king of West Broadway. Tell us a little bit about your work and your career as a street photographer.
Well, basically, I see everything as something in a candy store. All the visions appeal to me. I just can't stop taking pictures or looking at things. And actually, it's very important to me. I collect things. I collect images. I collect memories. And I collect situations where things change, where things are gentrified. And what I take today or tomorrow disappears by the end of the week or the end of the month. So I feel obligated to take these images and store them and share them with other people.
What kind of images inspire you the most?
Actually, I love street art. I love the work that other artists do on buildings, on billboards, just generally expressing their own feelings. And I think because these things tend to disappear now with gentrification, and these are endangered species, endangered images, endangered paintings. So I feel it's my obligation to record these, posterity or whatever, because whatever I take, again, today will be gone by tomorrow, and the works of art the street photographers do, basically endangered.
So what is the main focus of some of these images? Are they political or just self-expression? What are these murals or street art, what are they saying to people?
Well, it depends on the situation. I did a lot of work with Occupy Wall Street, demonstrations general, and what I find is people express themselves, and for the moment, for the second, and what I do is record these expressions of different people, whether they're something on a wall or something actually in a demonstration with people actually demonstrating and showing signs and showing whatever their emotions. So these are something alive that I want to record, because this is basically history. And if you don't record history, you tend to forget it.
So many would argue that graffiti and street art might be a blight in New York. Some people were very angry at, believe the building was called Four Corners, that a whole building where different artists collaborated and with murals. What's your feeling on graffiti? Is it something that needs to be preserved, or is it something that should be taken away?
Which should be preserved. Now, one example would be 11 Spring Street, which was a building that was, again, gentrified. Graffiti was taken off, but actually it was a big show inside. This is going back to December '06. Now, it was preserved in the sense that, again, you had book, you had photographs I took, other photographers took, and the actual building is preserved the way it was. Now it's different, now it's gentrified, but it doesn't matter because the image and the actual history was preserved by artists, street artists, and who actually went into the building and did their art inside the building before it was taken down.
Okay, since we're talking a little bit about the history of graffiti, I want to know a little bit about your history. I know that you're a veteran. Thank you for your service. I know that you were a postal worker for several years. How did you get into photography? How did you start your journey as an artist?
Well, my father was a wonderful photographer. He would consider himself an amateur, and he decided that in that day and age it was more important to raise a family, get a full-time job, than to express himself as a photographer and kind of risk being poor and talented. So, but I always kept that in my mind that this is what he wanted to do. And it always stuck that when I had the opportunity, I would be creative. I would sort of like vindicate him. And that's where I started as a photographer, doing a lot of street work off and on, not devoting too much time because I had a family and I had to take care of them versus doing what I wanted to do. But yet I kept the flame alive. So as soon as I had a chance to retire, this is what I became.
Okay, Joe, I want people to know that you're not only doing photography and street art. You have the Idea Factory, you have the Children's Art Exhibit. I know that you put on magnificent, multi-dimensional shows at NAMA in Harlem. So can you tell us a little bit about those three areas that you also are involved in?
Well, I consider myself as a poor man's Renaissance man. There's a lot of things that I like. I help kids. I do an art show for kids in the Bronx in a local gallery because I want them, the kids, to see their work and to be able to express themselves. Now, a lot of things I did or didn't do, well, that's water under the bridge. But if I see the kids where they have the opportunity to express themselves and maybe, further themselves with a career, this is key. In other words, I kind of like kept my father's dream. Now I want to have the kids exposed to their own dreams. So that's one possibility. But there's so many things that, in a sense, I'm still a kid in a candy store. So what I see, I like. I don't have enough hands to carry everything back, so I take the images instead of the candy. But really, everything visually is candy to me. All these expressions that, that I see, all the art I see on the street, all the people I see on the street are really visual candy to me.
I know we've talked for a couple of minutes. I don't think people are going to be able to connect your words until they see your images. So I know that we have like 4 minutes left until we have a PSA break. But I do want to show a couple of images before we go to break of your work, and maybe I'll be quiet and you can do the narrating on some of these images.
Which sounds like a great idea.
Okay, the first image, please.
Well, the first image was taken at Foley Square during the Occupy Wall Street demonstration. This was approximately October 11. And it was a large demonstration that basically went from the original site in Zuccotti Park down near Wall Street all the way up to Ward Street and a federal court building. Again, the same location. This is kids carrying signs. And what I kind of love is how the people interact with the demonstration, with an idea. So this brought a whole load of people downtown. Again, this is occupied Wall Street. We have a person with a sign, young lady, maybe hiding herself, because what I had seen is a lot of people were reluctant to get photographed because they weren't supposed to be at the demonstration. They were supposed to be at work or some other occasion where occasionally that sign was covering the face. So I had to coax people into getting photographed. Again, another individual. This is at Zuccotti Park near Wall Street. And again, people were literally camped out in that location, sleeping over. And this is a young gentleman who was doing his thing. This basically was at 11 Spring Street. And this is, again, street art. This is the art that was basically put on the wall. At that building, it would go up, somebody would cover it up, supersede it, and then somebody again would come back and do another mural or another poster. So this building was basically a mecca for street artists and graffiti artists. Again, this image would be on Spring and Bowery. It's called the Bank Building. And again, now it's been scrubbed and rehabbed and, in the midst of being rehabbed. But again, this was around the corner from Spring Street, on Spring Street and Bowery. So again, it was a mecca for a lot of street artists.
Okay, we're going to go to break now, and then we'll continue basically exploring your wonderful photography.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Boom.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
It only takes a moment to make a moment.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
We were talking about Joel Moscato's street photography, and I guess we can discuss some more of your images from Soho and around New York City.
Again, this is the Bank Building on Spring and Bowery. These images have basically changed or embellished over a period of time. Something with other persons and other artists would add their own comments and their own art and their own ideas on what things should look like. This one is actually from Santiago, Chile. I have family there, and again, I've done a study on the street art in South America. So this is an image from Chile. This is a part of a construction site, and again, the artists added their own comments, and this one was approximately the Bowery and Prince Street. Back to Chile. This is in Santiago, well, in a section called Bella Vista, which is approximately similar to the village.
And so that was the last image. So what has been so far the highlight of your career as a street photographer?
Well, there's a lot of highlights because I keep seeing images I like, so it's not something where I can retire and kind of like do something else. Basically, what I see, I like, I take the picture.
So what's your vision for this upcoming year? We're now in 2019. We have a new government, new president. We have a country that is, I guess, radioactive with political controversy. What is your vision for the upcoming year in terms of your art, in terms of things that you hope to capture?
Well, basically, there's demonstration a week, and it's obviously the best opportunity and the best time for a street photographer or who has a political bend. So there's plenty to capture, plenty of demonstrations to record. So it's endless. Sort of like literally typical thing of like it's a candy store. There's images where I can't do enough images. I don't have enough time in the space of my life to record everything that's going on.
What would you like to see happen? What would you like to see happen in terms of knowing what it's like to be an artist? What kind of things you think, how should we be more supported?
Well, the best thing is you do your thing. There's nothing special. It's just like being at the location or being aware of what's happening, and you take your opportunities and chances of recording the stuff. There's too much going on now. It's too much superficial stuff going on politically, where you have to be kind of careful and selective of what you do.
So do you think the artists have a social responsibility in terms of having a voice or depicting what's going on?
To a certain extent. In other words, I do things for myself, bottom line. But if I have the opportunity to record significant events, then it's better. I enjoy it. I want to be part of history in a sense, too, as far as my images are concerned.
So I know that you're also a student right now. You're going to what's called student artist?
Well, I'm a member of the Art Students League.
The Art Student League.
And I also take classes there. So basically, I try to expand. Right now I'm sort of like a sculptor.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit in depth about that sculpture.
Yeah. So again, I've always was an artist beyond being a photographer. That's my sort of like my chosen field, my chosen area that I feel comfortable with. But I also like to delve into different things. I'm good with my hands. I've always been kind of like into the arts. So this is like a new area for me. But it's a new area, and I go back and forth and back and forth. I just like to achieve something. I see something I like, and I take advantage of the situation by exploring different modes of expression.
So I know your sculpture is quite different from what you do as a photographer. You're just basically taking still images as a photographer. As a sculptor, I know that you're using your background as a draftsman. Few people know that you actually was a draftsman.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit, actually really specifically in terms of what materials are you using for your sculpture and how are you constructing these sculptures? I apologize for not including any images of your sculpture, maybe on another show. But can you tell us, what materials are you using? How are you actually building, and how are you building these sculptures, and how do you combine it with photography?
Well, basically, I would consider myself a mixed media artist, which basically means I use anything I can grab, what I can grab out of the garbage or whatever. In other words, I use different types of material. Right now I'm working with foam board, with cardboard, with wood, anything I can grab, get my hands on to be able to incorporate in my art. So I'm not set in stone. Whatever I see, I can kind of incorporate in my own image and what I really want to express. So it's not like one size fits all. It's basically what I can use, what's available that I can incorporate in my ideas and my images.
I think these pieces are quite remarkable. I mean, I've seen a lot of your work. It's remarkable because I haven't seen too many people who've actually literally taken images that are photographs, and the photographs are the sculpture. I mean, you see images that you've seen as photographs on the wall that creep up as panels and sides and curves in your sculpture. It's the skin and surface of many of your sculptures.
Well, basically, I incorporate my photography into other forms of art. So to me, it's not inclusive. There's no reason why I should exclude one medium from getting involved with another medium. That's part of me. In other words, the photography is me, and the sculpture and the art is me. So everything is mixed up. So I don't put one thing aside and start on something else. Everything is it becomes involved with my ideas, with my images.
When I was in your studio last, I had the privilege of seeing a piece that you were working on. Kind of reminded me of a Hindu god or goddess with multiple arms. It was almost kinetic, that actually they're movable. So can you explain a little bit? I know that you're not finished with that project, but if you could give us a little peek into that project.
Well, basically, I just had a whim of cutting out little arms and legs out of cardboard, kind of assembling a person or images of individuals. And I just, did it one day, threw it on the side, and then came back to do it. Now, the greatest, should I say, experience with that is taking this work on the subway in my portfolio and having legs and arms poking out of the portfolio and having the people's reaction to what I was carrying, which some were light and some were like running away and running into another car. And it's actually the expression of other people's emotions that caught my eye more than what I was doing. So it's sort of like, it's hard to explain, but what I was doing was actually a reaction to other people looking at it. So in other words, it's what I do, and I don't kind of like plan it. It becomes an impromptu, and it's almost like performance art.
I know that you're a very humble man. You're no stranger to television, you're no stranger to the newspapers. What would be the big fish for you? What is your big dream? What is your big project that you'd like to see happen in the future?
Well, basically, I would like to win the lottery, 3, 4 million, and we'll say open up a a gallery, a performance space, something for kids, something for adults, and just something to hang around in. So that, I would want to benefit other people and have people benefit for what I can do. So that would be, again, what I'd like to do.
That's wonderful. So your big dream is to give back, as you've already been doing with the Children's Art
Correct.
Exhibit. I know the Idea Factory was birthed out of your desire to look at, maybe young men who were involved with the criminal justice system, and perhaps celebrate their graffiti and give them a platform to create art. So I know that I guess you're still on that mission. You're still on that journey.
I can explain. Originally, my idea was based on some kid that I knew that was always in trouble with the police locally. And I told him to get his crew together, and I would have an exhibition. I would rent the gallery space for like a month or a period of time. If he came, he straightened out and had no problem with the police, and he had friends, and they would all have the opportunity of presenting their work at the gallery. And I would pay for the gallery space, also pay for the supplies. So the idea was basically giving these kids a chance to express themselves and see if they had the opportunity, with help, to focus on what they can do to improve their lives and art.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate you being on my show today. You're like family to me. If anybody would like to be in Corinne's Picks, all you would have to do is look at the credits at the end of this program. Send me a low resolution image of your work, and we'll evaluate your work and see if we can have you on the show. So thank you very much again. And you've seen the Corinne's Pick. Thank you. In upcoming weeks, we will have the art of Carol Brighton, the Arthur Wright, Rakumba, and Shilango. All artists are welcome on this show. We have artists from California, Mississippi, Georgia, different parts of the boroughs, 5 boroughs. All are welcome.
I'ma show you how to party.